he himself was seen before going to United States, and he laid, after making the down payment for the land, he laid the cornerstone for Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari Mandir on 23rd March 1972. And after laying the cornerstones, Srila Prabhupada invited Giriraj Swami, who was at the time making life members in Calcutta, to come to Bombay. And in 1972, Srila Prabhupada made His Holiness Giriraj Swami as the temple president of ISKCON Bombay. And he continued doing that wonderful service until Srila Prabhupada fulfilled his promise to Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari of making a wonderful marble palace for their lordships. Also, Srila Prabhupada made him the BBT trustees, one of the BBT trustees, and today is the 43rd anniversary of Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari temple. On Makara Sankranti, this temple was inaugurated. Makara Sankranti is a very auspicious day. Sun starts its northward movement, Uttarayan, bringing more light, heat, and auspiciousness. And Bhishmadev waited for this occasion to depart from this world. And Srila Prabhupada desired to inaugurate this temple on Vijayadashami 1977. But by the sweet will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari Ji, he decided to open the doors of heaven on earth. On Makara Sankranti, the doors of heaven are opened. Radha Ras Bihari wanted to adore the wonderful marble palace that Prabhupada has made and opening the doors of heaven on earth. Srila Prabhupada called this Juhu, Bombay, as heaven on earth. So on this auspicious day, Radha Ras Bihari started giving wonderful blessings for all the devotees. Also, Makara Sankranti is the day for Annadan. By giving charity for food, prasadam, one gets unlimited blessings. And on this occasion, we remember His Holiness Sridhar Swami Maharaj, who 2 decades back, more than 2 decades back, started distributing prasadam on Makara Sankranti in a modest scale. And today, by his vision and the blessings of Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari Ji and Srila Prabhupada, today and tomorrow we are distributing 111,111 plates of prasadam. Hari Bol. We pray to Sridhar Swami Maharaj to bless us so that we can follow his footsteps and serve Sri Sri Radha Rasa Bihari Ji more and more. Srila Prabhupada on November 21, 1974, gave Srimad Bhagavatam class on Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 21, on the verse Titikshavaha Karunikaha. Srila Prabhupada related to how a devotee has to be tolerant and merciful. And in this verse, Srila Prabhupada spoke and related to the struggles in Hare Krishna land, and also how Srila Prabhupada was so merciful, giving the blessings of the Lord for the whole world. So His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj has chosen this verse to speak today, Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I request His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj to give Bhagavatam class on Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.21. Welcome, Maharaj. I request you to give the class. Over to you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. We also would like to welcome His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj, who has just joined the Zoom. His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj ki.
So I will begin by singing the Mangalacharna prayers and leading a short kirtan. and then I will speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuddha Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatradeshatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Shiva Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Shiva Gurudeva, Jaya Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prajaka Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Samstapak Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prajaka Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we shall read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service. Text 21. But text 21 is very closely related to text 20. So before speaking on text 21, I will read text 20. And both of these verses are about a sadhu. What is a sadhu? And of course, for us, Srila Prabhupada was the sadhu. I recall a morning walk on Juhu Beach in which Dr. Patel said to Srila Prabhupada that I don't know why I'm so attracted to you. Frankly, I'm not attracted to temples or even any sadhu like I am attracted to you. And our dear departed godbrother Yasomati Nandan Prabhu said, there is no other sadhu besides Srila Prabhupada, exhibiting his staunch faith in and attachment to Srila Prabhupada. So I will read these two verses about sadhu. Text 20. Prasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu. Se eva sadhusu krito moksha dwaram apavritam. Translation. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door to liberation. So these two words are very much contrasted. Pasham, Ajaram Pasham means entanglement, and Moksha Dwaram means the door to liberation. So attachment to the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees or sadhus, opens the door of liberation. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Here it is clearly stated that attachment for one thing is the cause of bondage in conditioned life, and the same attachment, when applied to something else, opens the door of liberation. Attachment cannot be killed. It has simply to be transferred. Attachment for material things is called material consciousness, and attachment for Krishna or his devotee is called Krishna consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, is the platform of attachment. It is clearly stated here that when we simply purify the consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness, we attain liberation. Despite the statement that one should give up attachment, desirelessness is not possible for a living entity. Now, this is a very important point because in the material world, desire and attachment bring suffering. And so one reaction, impersonal reaction, is, all right, then I will stop desiring and I will give up attachment. But actually we cannot stop desiring and we cannot stop being attached, but we can transfer the desire to serve Krishna and his devotees. And we can transfer our attachment to Krishna and his devotees. And Srila Prabhupada, by his divine grace, taught us that process. And not only did he teach us the process, but he made us attached to him. And that our attachment to him, opened up the realm of devotional service, which in a way is beyond even liberation. A living entity, by constitution, has the propensity to be attached to something. The propensity for attachment cannot be stopped. It must be utilized for the best purpose. Our attachment for material things perpetuates our conditioned state, but the same attachment, when transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee, is the source of liberation. Here it is recommended that attachment should be transferred to the self-realized devotees, the sadhus. And who is a sadhu? A sadhu is not just an ordinary man with a saffron robe or long beard. A sadhu is described in Bhagavad Gita as one who unflinchingly engages in devotional service. Sadhu eva samantavya. Even though one is found not to be following the strict rules and regulations of devotional service, if one simply has unflinching faith in Krishna, the Supreme Person, he is understood to be a sadhu. Sadhu eva samantavya. That was the verse that I just quoted. And in the early days of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada said that, I mean, he was I guess you could say, making a point to illustrate the statement of the Bhagavad Gita, apichat sudaracharo bhajate mamananyapa, sadhu eva samantavya. That if you see Brahmananda smoking a cigarette, still you should know he is a great sadhu. And, there is a lot of warning in that section of the Bhagavad Gita about minimizing the value of devotees, even if by chance they fall down. And in the next verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Chipram bhavati dharmatma, that very soon he becomes righteous. Shantim gacchati, and he attains everlasting peace. So devotees are very, very precious and valuable, and we should honor them and worship them. And that will please Krishna. As Krishna says to Arjuna in the Adi Purana, those who claim to be my devotees are not my devotees, but those who are the devotees of my devotees, they are actually my devotees. Once when we first came to Bombay and were staying at Kailash Saksaria's home on Marine Drive, which was our first location after we arrived, Srila Prabhupada's disciple Guru Das, when Srila Prabhupada would travel, he would bring his small Radha Krishna deities with him. So that was the setting, that Guru Das was in Srila Prabhupada's room with him at Kailash Saksaria's home with Srila Prabhupada's Radha Krishna deities present. And Guru Das began to glorify a devotee. And then he caught himself, because the nectar of devotion says that one should not glorify anyone in front of the deity. So Guru Das stopped himself and he said, I'm so sorry, Srila Prabhupada, the nectar of devotion says this, and I was glorifying someone in front of the deity. And Srila Prabhupada replied that Krishna is already glorified, but he takes more pleasure when his devotee is glorified. Even devotees like us. So, yes, Krishna is pleased when we glorify devotees, when we glorify sadhus and appreciate them and serve them. And that's our life and soul. To serve the devotees, to please Srila Prabhupada, and ultimately Radha Rasa Bihari. It is recommended here that if one at all wants to realize Brahman, or spiritual perfection, His attachment should be transferred to the sadhu or devotee. Lord Chaitanya also confirmed this. Lava matra sadhu sange sarva siddhi hai. Simply by a moment's association with a sadhu, one can attain perfection. Well, how can one attain perfection just by a moment's association with a sadhu? Srila Prabhupada explains because the sadhu will teach one about devotional service to Krishna. And then, when one engages in devotional service to Krishna, one will attain all perfection. Mahatma is a symptom of sadhu. It is said that service to a Mahatma, or elevated devotee of the Lord, is Dwaram Ahurvi Mukte. It opens the door to liberation. Mahatseva Dwaram Ahurvi Muktes Tamo Dwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2. Rendering service to the materialist has the opposite effect. If anyone offers service to a gross materialist or a person engaged only in sense enjoyment, then by association with such a person, the door to hell is opened. The same principle is confirmed here. So, asat sangha tyaga e vaishnavachar. Sri Sangi Eka Sadhu Krishna Bhakta Ar. So Lord Chaitanya instructs asat sangha tyaga, to give up the association of asat. Asat sangha tyaga e vaishnavachar is the behavior of a Vaishnava. Now, we can associate with them to give them Krishna consciousness. We should not misunderstand the purport of the verse here, because Srimad Bhagavatam describes the behavior of a Madhyama Bhakta or preacher. And his behavior is prema, maitri, kripa, peksha. Prema, he gives his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maitri, he makes friendship with devotees. Kripa, he gives mercy to the innocent. And upeksha, he neglects the envious. And we have to neglect the envious, because if we try to preach to them, they will probably become more inimical and commit more offenses, which involves us in offenses. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that neglect, upeksha, is a sign of, it's also a type of mercy from the devotee. And he adds further that although one should not preach to the envious, one can pray for them. And he says that is sadhachar, that is the good behavior of a devotee or a sadhu. And he gave the example of Prahlad Maharaj. Yes. So, if anyone offers service to a gross materialist or a person engaged only in sense enjoyment, then by association with such a person, the door to hell is opened. The same principle is confirmed here. Attachment to a devotee is attachment to the service of the Lord, because if one associates with a sadhu, the result will be that the sadhu will teach him how to become a devotee, a worshiper, and a sincere servitor of the Lord. These are the gifts of a sadhu. We're so grateful to Srila Prabhupada. If we want to associate with a sadhu, we cannot expect him to give us instructions on how to improve our material condition, but he will give us instructions on how to cut the knot of the contamination of material attraction and how to elevate ourselves in devotional service. That is the result of associating with a sadhu. Kapila Muni first of all instructs that the path of liberation begins with such association. So during the long struggle to get permission to build the temple for Radharasa Bihari and to ultimately build it, at one stage, Srila Prabhupada spent 4 months continuously in Bombay, which was a long time. Of course, we were very happy about it. And during that time, he spoke about Lord Kapila's instructions to Devahuti on devotional service. And he said that his talks should be collected and published as a book, which it was, the teachings of Lord Kapila to Devahuti. So, every morning we would hear Srila Prabhupada speak on this section. So now we come to the verse that will be the official verse on which I speak. And so we'll follow the more usual procedure for a Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service, Text 21. Titikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatrava Shanta Sadhava Sadhubhushana. Titikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatrava Shanta Sadhava Sadhubhushana. Titikshava, tolerant. Karunika, merciful. Surida, friendly. Sarvadehinam, to all living entities. Ajata Shatrava, inimical to none. Shanta, peaceful. Sadhava, abiding by scriptures. Sadhubhushana, adorned with sublime characteristics. Translation. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A sadhu, as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. His concern, therefore, is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. So this is very significant that a devotee's concern is not his own liberation. That is already there. But his concern is to enlighten people in devotional service of the Lord. And that, of course, was exemplified by Srila Prabhupada, and he has taught us and encouraged us to follow in the same line. That is his mercy. So the Karunika, the sadhu is merciful. And what is his mercy? That he tries to enlighten people in devotional service. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country from door to door preaching. Be Krishna conscious. Be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization or Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of the sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. Yes, it is said of a devotee, paradukkha dukhi, that he feels sorry in the sorrow of others. Paradukkha dukhi, that is a Vaishnava. And he translates that sorrow into the effort to relieve people's suffering, to make them happy by Krishna consciousness. And that's our mission. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. He is the most compassionate personality towards all the fallen souls. One of his qualifications, therefore, is karunika, great mercy to the fallen souls. While engaged in preaching work, he has to meet so many opposing elements, and therefore the sadhu, or devotee of the Lord, has to be very tolerant to tikshava. Someone may ill-treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. They do not like it. That is their disease. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. Sometimes devotees are personally attacked with violence. It's true. Sometimes our devotees are also attacked when they go out. Lord Jesus Christ was crucified. Haridas Thakur was caned in 22 marketplaces. And Lord Chaitanya's principal assistant, Nityananda, was violently attacked by Jagai and Madhai. But still, they were tolerant because their mission was to deliver the fallen souls. One of the qualifications of a sadhu is that he is very tolerant and is merciful to the fallen souls. He is merciful because he is the well-wisher of all living entities. So there are many words in Sanskrit for friend, and one is surida. Su means nice or good, and Rida means heart. His heart is so nice or so good. And he is a well-wishing friend of every living entity. He is not only a well-wisher of human society, but a well-wisher of animal society as well. It is said here, sarvadehinam, which indicates all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Not only does the human being have a material body, but other living entities, such as cats and dogs, also have material bodies. The devotee of the Lord is merciful to everyone, the cats, dogs, trees, etc. He treats all living entities in such a way that they can ultimately get salvation from this material entanglement. Actually, in one conversation in Juhu, Srila Prabhupada spoke about the dogs. And he said that we should also feed prasadam to the dogs. They should not be neglected because they're in the body of dogs. Shivananda Sen, one of the disciples of Lord Chaitanya, gave liberation to a dog by treating the dog transcendentally. There are many instances where a dog got salvation by association with a sadhu, because a sadhu engages in the highest philanthropic activities for the benediction of all living entities. The position of a sadhu, the nature of a sadhu is so exalted. Yet although a sadhu is not inimical towards anyone, the world is so ungrateful that even a sadhu has many enemies. What is the difference between an enemy and a friend? It is a difference in behavior. A sadhu behaves with all conditioned souls for their ultimate relief from material entanglement. All conditioned souls. Therefore, no one can be more friendly than a sadhu in relieving a conditioned soul. A sadhu is calm, and he quietly and peacefully follows the principles of Scripture. A sadhu means one who follows the principles of Scripture and at the same time is a devotee of the Lord. One who actually follows the principles of Scripture must be a devotee of God, because all the Shastras instruct us to obey the orders of the personality of Godhead. So this is an explanation of sadhava, abiding by the Scriptures. If one abides by the Scriptures, and it's the quality of a sadhu to abide by the Scriptures, he must be a devotee, because all the Scriptures tell us to surrender to Krishna and become his devotee. One who actually follows the principles of Scripture must be a devotee of God, because all the Shastras instruct us to obey the orders of the personality of Godhead. Sadhu, therefore, means a follower of the scriptural injunctions and a devotee of the Lord. All these characteristics are prominent in a devotee. A devotee develops all the good qualities of the demigods, whereas a non-devotee, even though academically qualified, has no actual good qualifications or good characteristics, according to the standard of transcendental realization. So here Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing a verse from the 5th canto, Yasasti Bhakti Bhagavati Akinchana, that one who is a devotee of the Lord develops all the good qualities of the demigods. And for one who is not a devotee of the Lord, where are his good qualities? So when Srila Prabhupada spoke on this verse in Juhu, he related it in a very personal way to our situation in Juhu. Reading the purport now, I see how it applied to Srila Prabhupada and us, his followers in Juhu. But Srila Prabhupada made it very explicit in a most poignant way. And I will quote a little of what Srila Prabhupada said. So every morning in the temple, Srila Prabhupada would speak on Srimad Bhagavatam 325 during that period. And in one talk, he spoke about our situation in relation to the verse describing the qualities and behavior of a sadhu. Although Prabhupada himself perfectly exemplified the verse, he related it to the devotees in Juhu. And he said, "Here all the boys and girls, the devotees, they are concerned with Radha Krishna. That's all. Their whole business, day and night, is Radha Krishna. From early morning, 3 o'clock, to night, 10 o'clock, their only business is Radha Krishna. That's all. Therefore, they are sadhus." And so many people are criticizing. We are not getting the sanction to build because we have so many enemies. They say we are creating a nuisance. We are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and that is a nuisance. This complaint is going to the police. So yeah, the police commissioner, he refused the NOC, the no objection certificate, for us to build a temple on the basis that the bhajans, which have been a nuisance, will become more of a nuisance if we get the temple. And those words of the police commissioner really upset Srila Prabhupada. And eventually he wrote a letter to the police commissioner, a brilliant letter in which, he described kirtan, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, that it's the activities of Mahatmas. And he appealed to the police commissioner as if he were like a Vedic king, to give protection to the devotees from the people who were harassing them. And it turned out that the police commissioner was under the Home Secretary in the government of Maharashtra. And the Home Secretary was like a very high position in the government. And the Home Secretary had somehow come under the influence of Pushpakant Matre, who was, you could say, an accomplice of Mr. Nair, and very inimical to the devotees. So, I submitted the letter on Srila Prabhupada's behalf, and after some time, Srila Prabhupada said, "Have you heard anything from the police commissioner?" Which we hadn't. And then he said, I should go down to the police commissioner's office and inquire. So I went down and I met the commissioner's secretary, who said that the commissioner had told him that he had never received such a brilliant letter in his life. It was a brilliant letter. But because of, the police commissioners being under the Home Secretary, who was under the influence of Pushpakant Matre, he still didn't give the permission. So that's a little background about nuisance. So coming back to what Srila Prabhupada said on this verse. And so many people are criticizing. We are not getting the sanction to build because we have so many enemies. They say we're creating a nuisance. We're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and that is a nuisance. This complaint is going to the police. So that is very difficult. Then Srila Prabhupada, filled with emotion, exclaimed, therefore a sadhu is advised to tikshava, tolerate all this nonsense. What can be done? We have no other alternative but to tolerate. Nobody's coming to help us. Our business is so thankless because we are trying to create one temple. So many enemies are giving hindrance. You cannot do it. Therefore, to tikshava, you have to remain sadhu. You cannot become a sadhu. You have to tolerate. What can be done? At the same time, you have to be merciful. You know what happened in this place, Hare Krishna land? So much attack by the police, by the municipality, break the temple. We could have left, concluding, what is the use of taking so much botheration? We have hundreds of temples outside India. If people here are not liking, let us go away. But no, Karunika. We have come to distribute Krishna consciousness. We must tolerate and give this message to the people. Karunika, very merciful in spite of all trouble. These American boys and girls have come to help me. Not that they have come because they are hungry. No. My mission is, you Americans, you chant Hare Krishna so the people of India will see, oh, Americans are also chanting. Why not we? But unfortunately, such dull brains, that thought is not coming. But still, we have to do it. We have to tolerate, and we have to become karunika, merciful. Why should you want to be merciful? Paraduka duki, kripambudiryas tamaham prapadye. A Vaishnava understands these people are engaged like cats and dogs in sense gratification. They are misguided, and in the next life they'll be punished. Let us do something for them. This is karunika, out of mercy. There is no question of getting something, money. No, we have got sufficient money. But just to become merciful upon these fallen conditioned souls who are suffering on account of becoming animalistic without Krishna consciousness, the preacher, the sadhus. These are sadhus, titikshava, tolerant. Never mind, whatever hindrances and tribulations they are offering to us, never mind, tolerate. And surida. Surida means the heart is so nice. The Vaishnava is always thinking how a man can be saved from the clutches of Maya. He has no other desire. The Vaishnava is so kind that surida sarvadehinam. He is kind not only to the human beings, but to all embodied souls, cats, dogs, trees, plants, insects. A Vaishnava will hesitate to kill even a mosquito. Sarvadehinam. Not that I shall take care of my brother only. I am good and my brother is good. No. Surida sarvadehinam. Just on that point of mosquitoes, when Srila Prabhupada visited Venezuela, or I think Venezuela or Mexico City, but anyway, so there were a lot of mosquitoes. But one disciple noticed that the mosquitoes were not troubling Srila Prabhupada. They were not biting Srila Prabhupada. And so the disciple mentioned it to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada replied, yes, here the mosquitoes are respectful, but in Calcutta they make no distinctions. So anyway, a Vaishnava will hesitate to kill even a mosquito, sarvadehinam. And ajata shatrava. When one is living in that way as a sadhu, why will others become his enemy? The sadhu does not create enemies, but people become enemies out of their own character. How can a sadhu create enemies? Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mame Kam Sharanam Vraja. And we are simply teaching, my dear human being, my dear friend, you become a soul surrendered to Krishna. So what is our fault? We don't create any enemy, but they become enemy. Why shall I create enemies? Surida sarvadehinam. But they become out of their own nature. We are in this society, human society, and because we are spreading Krishna consciousness, the envious, who are more dangerous than snakes, are putting so many impediments, but we have to tolerate. We have no other alternative. You see? Ajata Shatrava Shanta. Be peaceful. What can be done? Depend on Krishna. These are the ornaments of a sadhu. Titikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam. You must know what is a sadhu. First, a sadhu is a devotee. And if he is a devotee, then all the symptoms are there. Now you find a sadhu and associate with him. Then your path of liberation will be open. And for us, of course, Srila Prabhupada was that sadhu. And by his words and example, he was encouraging us to try to become sadhus as well. So, these are beautiful verses, and what Srila Prabhupada said about especially text 21 and how he related it to his work and his disciples' work. It was very touching, poignant, and encouraging and inspiring. And Srila Prabhupada really drew a lot of love and service out of his disciples. Of course, there were a lot of hardships and austerities. And, there was the infamous hut on the back of Hare Krishna land. But one devotee named Manasatita, a very nice, simple devotee from Italy, he shared something really nice about his experience of living in the hut. And he said, we were living in bad conditions, but inside our hut, we were happy because Prabhupada was there and we were safe from materialistic life. When he was present, he would give lectures twice a day, and we could see him all day long. From the brahmachari ashram, I could see him chanting his rounds. We didn't care that we were sleeping on the ground or in a place where rain came in, we were very happy, really very happy. When I remember those days, I weep. Jai Shiva Prabhupada. So thank you all for giving me this opportunity to share some thoughts and reflections on these verses and to remember our beloved spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and his service to the people of Bombay and to his worshipful lords, Sri Sri Radha Rasa Bihari. So, yeah, I don't know where we stand on time. If we have time for questions or comments, I'm happy if there is. But then again, if we have to move along with the program, I'm fine with that also. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. We thank His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj.
I'm feeling homesick.
We are feeling separation, Maharaj. So there are few questions in the temple, Maharaj. So we will take that, and then our next section of the program is release of the book, I Will Build You a Temple, the Juhu story by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. So we will be having His Holiness Gopalakrishna Goswami Maharaj, who is present personally here in the temple, will speak for a few minutes. And then we will have His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj will speak on the book. And also we will have His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj speak on this book. So with that, we will have His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu has a question or comment. So we will take that.
Jai Maharaj, please my relationship, Prabhupada. You are talking about tolerance. Is there any measurement of the tolerance? How far one should tolerate?
Yes, that's a very good question. And in fact, I wrote a little article on that subject called How Much Can You Tolerate? And the focal point of the article was Prahlad Maharaj. And one point that Srila Prabhupada made about Prahlad Maharaj was that he had no choice but to tolerate, because the enemy, who happened to be his father, was so powerful. So, and we do have Srila Prabhupada's example of how much he tolerated in the course of his missionary activities. So personally, we should be prepared to tolerate. But when there's an offense against the Lord or a devotee, we should not tolerate. Srila Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself showed the example. He said, Srinada pisu niche na tarara pisa hishnuna amanina manadena Chaitanya sadhari. But when Nityananda Prabhu was attacked by Jagai and Madhai, he didn't tolerate. No, he came rushing to the spot with his Sudarshan chakra. He was ready to kill Jagai and Madhai. So when it comes to an offense against the Lord or the devotee, we should not tolerate. But on our personal account, we should tolerate. And how much? You should tolerate as much as you can tolerate. Is that all right?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So we begin the next section of today's program with the release of the book, I Will Build You a Temple, the Juhu story. Srila Prabhupada asked His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj to write, recognizing his talent to write. So Giriraj Maharaj has written the books Watering the Seed, Many Moons, Reflections on Departed Vaishnavas, Life's Final Exam, Death and Dying from Vedic Perspective. All these books are published by Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada, in his desire to establish a first-class preaching center in the city of Bombay, he entered into an apparently simple land purchase deal, which turned out to be forcing him to fight for Radha Ras Bihari. And Srila Prabhupada fought valiantly. Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Sri Vijayo Bhutir. Wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna, and wherever there is a pure devotee of the Lord, victory is there. So Srila Prabhupada was victorious. And after signing the purchase deal for this Hare Krishna land, Prabhupada said, it was a good fight. There is a standee there. It was a good fight. Someone should write a book about it. This is Prabhupada's own word. So, Srila Prabhupada acted as the commander-in-chief for Krishna, and on the ground, we had the field commander in the form of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. Giriraj Swami Maharaj was translating Srila Prabhupada's instruction and desire into action on ground, making it happen. And Srila Prabhupada spent 554 days in Bombay. For Prabhupada to spend so many days, he was so much traveling, spending few days in centers, and for him to spend so much time, and all this time, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj was the temple president of Bombay, giving instruction to Giriraj Swami Maharaj about how to get the first-class preaching center made. So, Srila Prabhupada gave so much instruction on Juhu that His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj is the treasure house of instructions of Srila Prabhupada on Juhu. Treasure house of instruction of Srila Prabhupada on Juhu. And when Srila Prabhupada said someone should write a book, it cannot be anyone other than His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. He's the best person suited because he knew all the instruction of Prabhupada on Juhu. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita certainly discusses about Juhu. And many people, when they read, they get inspired. That is only a synopsis. What we are going to have now is the real thesis. I will build you a temple is the real thesis. Exactly like in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Ramachandra's pastimes are discussed very briefly, whereas Ramayana is a itihasa. Like that, the modern day itihasa on Juhu is this book, I Will Build You a Temple, the Juhu story. With so many twists and turns, like a very interesting novel, twists and turns, this book will remain in the history of ISKCON's establishment, Srila Prabhupada establishment, as an important chapter, Juhu chapter. And this book will serve the purpose of giving the accurate information. We all know how His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj is a perfectionist, very accurate. I want to narrate a few incidences which I was associated. When writing the book, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj used to send several emails to me, asking me informations about old life members, very early life members, their name, when they became life member, how their name is spelt. Meaning, in India, some names are spelled differently also. So Maharaj was very specific about every single detail of the life member, which he actually wanted to write. So when he's going to write, he didn't want to write a little mistake there. So he actually would ask me so many questions, so many chains of emails. I finally would even send the scanned image of the life member, which was enrolled in 1973, 74, like that. And Maharaj will be very happy getting the right information, exact information, and he will actually incorporate in the book. There is a saying that when you are cooking rice, you want to check whether the rice is cooked or not, you take only 1 grain of rice and test it cooked. If it is cooked, whole pot of rice is cooked. So in that way, I can only stand as a guarantor for any life member information written in this book, any life member information written in this book, they are accurate. Because I have evidence for it. The old life membership form signed by that person, the very person who became life member. Accurate information is provided in this book, and I extrapolate that to say it is all accurate information, and it is Hare Krishna land as happened from 1972 to 78 as it is. So this year is a wonderful gift that we are getting from His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. This year is the 125th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada. And on the occasion, most auspicious occasion of the 43rd anniversary of Sri Sri Radha Rasbihari Ji, thank you very much, Maharaj, for giving us this wonderful gift of I will build you a temple, the Juhu story.
Thank you
With
for
that,
the.
we... Yes,
Yes.
Maharaj, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Say that thank you for those encouraging and humbling words. And it's true, I really did take pains to make sure that everything was exact and accurate. And thank you for sending me all the old records so that I could make sure that all the names of the old life members were spelled properly.
Thank you very much for giving a little opportunity, like a squirrel got a little opportunity for your, desire of fulfilling Srila Prabhupada's instruction to write a book. And thank you very much for giving an opportunity, Maharaj.
Thank you.
So we now request His Holiness Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj will speak, and Maharaj, after meeting Srila Prabhupada in 1968, was initiated in 1969, and Srila Prabhupada appointed His Holiness Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj as the GBC in December 1974. And Maharaj came to Bombay in 1975, March 1975. And from March 1975 till to date, His Holiness Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj is serving Sri Sri Radha Rasbihari Ji 45 years as GBC member. Srila Prabhupada also gave the service of managing the BBT, and he was very happy when Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj would present Srila Prabhupada with books translated in Hindi and other languages. And Maharaj, Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj, also played important role played important role in getting permission for building the temple, including meeting the chief minister of that time, S.B. Chavan, along with His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, and also played an important role in the opening of the temple. So recognizing all these things, His Holiness Gopalakrishna Goswami Maharaj was given a doctorate, D.Litt, by the JJTU University. So I request His Holiness Dr. Gopalakrishna Goswami Maharaj to speak about the Juhu story.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I must say that Guru Mother was, at least in my case, over generous in his words. With regards to Giriraj Swami, it was accurate. So we are very happy that the book. We're very happy that the book is finally being released, and we hope that devotees will take advantage of this book. Prabhupada was connected to Bombay. Prabhupada's connection to Bombay started in 1932 when he came here to do business, and he ended up helping the Gaudiya Math devotees and setting up an ashram. And it is Bombay from where he wrote that famous Vyaspaja offering, and he even wrote to Prabhupada, his spiritual master, to give him direction on what to do. And Bhakti Siddhantaji just repeated the same instruction he gave in the first meeting. Bombay was very special to Prabhupada, and this statement, "I'll build you a temple," was Prabhupada's prayer to their Lordship. Prabhupada, in 1965, before he went to the West, he was coming to see Srimati Moraji, whose house at that time was only about 2 blocks away from our temple. And Prabhupada saw this beautiful land, which was like a jungle. And at that point, and Prabhupada prayed, "My Lord, if you ever give me this land, I'll build a wonderful temple for you." And just imagine, at that time, Prabhupada hardly had any hardly had any assets. He used to walk to the Andheri station to just save money for the bus fare. And here is Prabhupada praying to the Lord. If the Lord ever gave him this land, he would build a nice temple. So after establishing Krishna consciousness in the West, Prabhupada came to India, and Bombay was the first stop. Prabhupada said, "Bombay is my office, Vrindavan is my home, and Mayapur is my place of worship." So Prabhupada was very keen that the in Bombay. Our first temple there was in Akash Ganga, and Prabhupada was going to different locations looking for a good site, good location. Then in 1971, Mr. Nair, who at that time was the sheriff of Bombay and the editor of the Free Press paper, he was and Prabhupada was offered this land in 1971. And Prabhupada, when he saw the land, he was ready to buy it at once. When he came here, he could remember that this is the land that he had seen before he went to the West. And he had prayed to the Lord, "If you ever give me this land, I'll make a temple for you." So Srila Prabhupada had this great desire. But then it turned out that the person who was selling the land was going to was trying to manipulate Prabhupada's offer, and his intentions were not so noble. And he had previously cheated other people too. So Prabhupada decided that he has to get this land because he had promised their lordship. And then there was a big struggle. I believe Giriraj Swami came to Bombay, the president, in 1972. And Giriraj Swami was preaching in Calcutta, making members, and Prabhupada had just obtained the land in Bombay, and Prabhupada was very keen that we have a responsible team. So I believe Prabhupada wrote to Giriraj Swami to come to Bombay in 72. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Maharaj was the president in 72. I came to India in March 75. And at that time, the struggle to get an NOC was taking place. We had got the permission. We didn't get the permission. We had got the land in full possession. We didn't have the NOC. Prabhupada was determined to have a temple here. And Prabhupada was ready to fight the battle. We fought the battle. And getting the NOC was a real challenge. Giriraj Swami and I used to go together at that time to Sachivala, you remember? And at that time, we didn't have any cars or any means of transportation. I believe we had railway passes, first class pass. And Maharaj and myself used to go there every day to different offices in Sachivala. We happened to meet one politician of the Congress Party, Mr. Sawant, who was the president of the PK Sawant, president of the Congress Party in Bombay. And Mr. Sawant was a pious man. At that time in India, they had the emergency imposed by Indira Gandhi. So a lot of things were suspended at that time. So we explained our problem to Mr. Sawant, who eventually took us to the chief minister, who at that time was L.B. Chauhan. He was also a nice man. So when we explained to him the problem we were facing, I remember he phoned the police commissioner in front of us and said, give them the NOC. And because that was an emergency period, people had to follow the law more strictly. So when we started work on this temple, so in 1975, when I came in March 75, the first thing Prabhupada said is, complete this temple in 6 months. I think I told you about that. So we started the construction. We had a very nice Dutch devotee, Saurabh, who was the architect. But the work wasn't going very fast. So then we went to Mr. Dheer's office, residence in Bandra. You remember? Office of Bandra Seaface. Mr. Dheer was a life member and the vice president of ECC. That was a subsidiary of the Larsen and Toubro. And we brought Mr. Dheer to meet Prabhupada. And Dheer said he will take up the contract to his company to build this temple. So at the time that we were digging to construct the temple, those who were digging, they found a plaque in which indicated that there was a Ganesh temple over there. So we took that plaque. It was placed in Prabhupada's apartment, and I remember Pagay and they came to see Prabhupada, and we asked them if we could shed any light on what's on the plaque. Looking at the Marathi script on that plaque, they said, this means there was a temple of Ganesh here more than 500 years ago, and this Marathi script is at least 500 years old. So Prabhupada was happy that on this land, at this location, there was a temple. So one of our great desires was to open the temple before Prabhupada left the planet. Prabhupada's health was deteriorating, and Prabhupada stayed. We had gone to Mahabaleshwar, I think, and on the way back, Prabhupada wanted to stay. Prabhupada was determined to stay in his apartment on the 5th floor. The apartment wasn't fully ready. Prabhupada said, if I don't move there, this work will go on and on. And while Prabhupada was on his 5th floor apartment, construction was still going on. And when you're constructing, there's always some noise. Devotees asked Prabhupada, is this noise disturbing you? And Prabhupada said, no, this is kirtan. Because the noise was there, because they were building a temple for the Lord. So Prabhupada left the planet in November, and before he left the
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
So, so we could not open the temple while Prabhupada was on the planet, but we decided to open the temple on Makara Sankranti Day, 1978. And we wanted to make the opening as big as possible. So Mukunda Maharaj was also here, and we invited the Chief Minister of Maharashtra at that time, Maharashtra, Vasanada Patil, and a very prominent politician from Delhi, Raj Naran. He had become very famous in India because he defeated Indira Gandhi in the election. So Raj Naran was a minister for health, central minister. And we invited Mr. Patwari, who was the governor of Tamil Nadu. He used to come regularly to see Prabhupada. He came in Vrindavan also. So these three were invited as VIPs. And the Newsweek magazine flew a whole team from Hong Kong to Bombay. The Newsweek, I believe the Newsweek magazine is now defunct, but at that time it was one of the big magazines like Time magazine. So they flew a whole team to Bombay, and they published an article, From Rags to Riches. Remember that? From Rags to Riches, and basically how Bhaktivedanta Swami went to America with just 40 rupees in his pocket, and now he's built such a big empire. So Prabhupada glorified Prabhupada's endeavor. So there's a lot to say, but we have limited time. I'm sure Giriraj Swami has covered almost every major pastime that took place here. In those days, I had the fortune of going out with Giriraj Swami to preach. We used to go every day to Churchgate. And then in Marine Drive, there was a Parsi dairy, you remember? So after visiting all the officers, we would go and have kulfi there. Is that correct? Yeah, and
They're good paneer too.
yeah. And going to Sachivalya was our daily routine. And it was going by train to the church gate and then walking down to Sachivalya because we were not getting our NOC and we had to get cleared from Sachivalya. One of the reasons Mate was objecting to our getting the NOC was he had plans to build a temple, he had plans to build a hotel here. This land which was earmarked, which was purchased by Prabhupada, Matre and his whole group of business associates wanted to make a hotel over here. So with our coming there, that concept could not be realized. And the two towers that you see here, the Prabhupada got the original concept from the Hilton Hotel in Nairobi. I go to Nairobi regularly. They have a Hilton Hotel, and that's exactly the same shape and design as this. Then in 77, before we opened the temple, I asked Prabhupada in Vrindavan, what should we call this? What should we call our guest house? Prabhupada said, call it ISKCON Ashram. So Prabhupada had great desires. He wanted the Hare Krishna land, the holy name to be chanted all the time. So anyone who comes to the Hare Krishna land should be hearing the holy name. So thank you very much, Maharaj, for writing this book. And as I promised you, I'll try to promote distributing it. And I'm sure people will buy it, because they'll get a full-time account of Prabhupada's pastime. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. We are very fortunate to have His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj with us today. Radhanath Swami Maharaj has strong connection to Bombay. The Cross Maidan program was a turning point in his journey home, and his connection remains. And he has very special feelings for Sri Sri Radha Rasbihari Ji and Hare Krishna land here, for being in touch with Srila Prabhupada's devotion. So actually, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, we approached him very late, and we got a message that he had some prayer commitments, hence he said he will send a video message. And yesterday we were very nervous. We didn't get a message. We were wondering what happened to the message. So when I contacted, I got a pleasant surprise from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj that he will be joining the meeting over Zoom. We are very, very thankful to His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj for that wonderful gesture. And Maharaj himself is an established speaker and author himself, written the book Journey Home and Journey Within. And we are very, very happy to have His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj with us. And I request you to inspire us to speaking on the Juhu story. Over to you, Maharaj.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Dharane Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. I am truly grateful to be with all of you today. Thank you to His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj for your wonderful, insightful class from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where you captured the very essence of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message, what it really means to be the servant of the servant of the servant, to serve the Vaishnavas with a humble and caring heart, and to be willing to endure great sacrifices to be an instrument of Krishna's compassion to the fallen souls. Thank you to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj for your incredible, insightful, and comprehensive explanation of the history of Radha Ras Bihari Temple. You are speaking with such realization because you were there at each step of the way, observing and participating in Srila Prabhupada's pastime of developing Radha Ras Bihari Temple. Today really is historical. This wonderful book entitled I'll Build a Temple for You, which was Srila Prabhupada's intimate, heartfelt prayer to Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari. What an incredible story for all time to come. Srila Prabhupada, in that prayer, which was like a seed, and like a seed begins underground, nobody sees it. And sometimes when it starts to just sprout, it's endangered in so many ways. Srila Prabhupada not only offered the prayer, but he surrendered to the fulfillment of that prayer. And this principle of Sharanagati, or surrender, is at the very heart of our Guru Parampara. As His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj explained, Srila Prabhupada was given this instruction to take the message of Lord Chaitanya to the Western world in 1922. And he surrendered to that instruction. And then, just approximately one fortnight before Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada departed from this world, he wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada with the same message. If you want to please me, take this message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world in the English language. So Bombay was such an important place for Srila Prabhupada. And the history of how he surrendered to the instruction of his spiritual master. He took the message of Lord Chaitanya and our parampara to America, to Europe, South America, Russia, Africa, Australia. But he spent the maximum amount of time in Bombay. It was so important to him. He built a beautiful temple in Vrindavan. He was developing a wonderful project in Mayapur, but the maximum amount of energy and money he was dedicating to building a temple for Radha Ras Bihari in Bombay. Bombay was just so important to Srila Prabhupada. Not only for India, but for the whole world. And at that time when there was nothing there, and there was such imminent struggle, pain, opposition, Srila Prabhupada called upon His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj to come. And he gave him the charge of the temple. Giriraj Maharaj at that time was not a GBC, he was not a sannyasi, he was a brahmachari. He had very little experience in India. He made some life members in Calcutta. But Srila Prabhupada, he trusted totally the dedication of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. He trusted that here is a person who was 100% surrendering his life with no ulterior motives to assist me in the mission of my Guru Maharaj. Obviously, Srila Prabhupada was seeing it that way. And making Giriraj Swami Maharaj the president at a time when it was so difficult. And even though so many challenges and setbacks came, Srila Prabhupada never removed Giriraj Swami Maharaj from being president. Whatever mistakes may have been made, because Srila Prabhupada saw Giriraj Swami Maharaj's surrender and empowerment, accessing Krishna's mercy comes through the process of such surrender. This book that's being released today, it's written, built on the foundation not only of Giriraj Maharaj observing and personally seeing Srila Prabhupada in all these situations, participating in all of the challenges that took place, but it's built on the foundation of his surrender to the project and his surrender to Srila Prabhupada. That surrender is an expression of Giriraj Maharaj's love. His love for Srila Prabhupada was tested, and it only grew more and more and more. No one else could have written this book in this way. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj is one of my dearmost friends. He's always been a mentor to me. In fact, in Bombay, the same day and the same place that I first met Srila Prabhupada, I met His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. In fact, when Srila Prabhupada first came on the stage to speak, I was assisting Giriraj Maharaj at a Bhakta Godhead table, and Giriraj Maharaj said, "You should go to see and to hear Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada." And following his instruction, I went into the crowd to hear Srila Prabhupada speak. So there's something very special about my relationship with Giriraj Maharaj in Mumbai or Bombay. We have all been, for years and years, waiting eagerly, anxiously for this book to be released. And it took Giriraj Maharaj many years. Maharaj, you have written many books, but the amount of time, the amount of meditation, the amount of surrender that it's taken you to write this book is paramount in your life. Because it is so important. It is one of the most intimate of all the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. And now a most authorized, authentic, and devotionally presented account of it is available to each and every one of us and to all generations of people to come. I'm just thrilled that this book is released, and it's being released on the very day of Makara Sankranti, the day that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left home to take sannyas, the day that Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari was welcomed into their new temple, the day that Bhishma Dev received Krishna's ultimate darshan and mercy. On this very special holy day, we are all so fortunate to personally witness this great tribute. Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari, their beauty, their charm, their mercy, conquered Srila Prabhupada's heart. And by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, they are now conquering all of our hearts. And this wonderful book, Giriraj Maharaj, will open the doors for them to conquer the hearts of the whole world. I'm actually speechless, even though I'm trying to speak something. I am so grateful. Let us all, devotees all over the world who may be present for this virtual book launch, and all the devotees at Radha Ras Bihari Temple in Bombay, let us all, from the very core of our hearts, offer our profoundest gratitude and appreciation to His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj for, with such humility and such compassion, putting his heart and soul into making the story of Srila Prabhupada's pastime accessible to all of us. Thank you, Giriraj Maharaj. Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari ki Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
His Holiness Sridhar Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
His Holiness Indrajumana Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Ananti Koti Vaishnava Brinda ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Maharaj ki jai.
That was really beautiful and moving and inspiring. You and Indrajumana Swami in particular, really encouraged me to write this book. And of course, Srila Prabhupada instructed me to write, and he said, it was a good fight. Someone should write a book about it. But yeah, the two of you, Radhanath Swami and Indrajumana Swami, really, really encouraged me. And I don't know if it's the proper time or place, but I was really supported by an excellent editorial team. His Grace Kalachandji Das. He was involved in every aspect of the production, giving advice. And we had a sequence after Kalachandji Das. The text would go to Vishaka Priyadasi in Vrindavan, and then to Madhurika Dasi in Alachua, and then to Nikunja Vilasini Dasi in Durban. And they really helped to, refine the manuscript. And I'm so happy I can offer this to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Shri Rasa Bihari and all of you on this day. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, for that inspirational speech and personally coming online and giving your association. Very special thanks to you, Maharaj, for adjusting your time of prayer commitment to join this wonderful program. Thank you very, very much, Maharaj. Now we have with us His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj.
Right.
Maharaj met Srila Prabhupada in 1970 and took sannyas at the age of 29 in 1979. And Maharaj started the Festival of India in 1990 in Poland in a modest scale, and which became a festival with people attending, 5,000 to 10,000 people attending this festival with dance, drama, and cultural presentation of Krishna consciousness. Also, His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj participates in Poland Woodstock Festival, and also from 1995 onwards, His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj writes a book known as The Diary of a Traveling Monk. Diary of a Traveling Monk, very famous, and a lot of devotees take inspiration from his travel and preaching. And also Maharaj is an established photographer and an author. And I just came to know, which was confirmed by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj also, that His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj was one of the instrumental person in encouraging His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj to write this book. We are very, very thankful to you, Maharaj, for that. So I request His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj to speak about the Juhu story. Over to you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharyane, Divishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Deshatarane. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhube Bacha, Patitanam Pavanavyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, I'm very, very happy and very honored actually to be part of this program with such an august assembly of Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. I must admit I feel a little bit like an outsider because I was not there in Bombay during those times. I've only visited Bombay a few times, but as always, I think my good fortune is that I'm always holding on to the coattails, so to speak, of Giriraj Maharaj, and I snuck in. So I thank him very much and all of you. If I did anything, I just reminded Maharaj about the importance of the whole project there in Juhu, and I reminded him about Srila Prabhupada's request to him to write a book about it. So I just got a little bit of tiny iota bit of credit there. But I'm very fortunate. I already have a copy. The book was actually printed here. I'm just outside of Delhi, actually. And the book was printed in Delhi, and I knew that. And we were asked, myself and my team, to ship these 200 copies that you now have at the temple there. We were asked to ship those from Delhi to Mumbai for this occasion. And I have to admit, I did a little hijacking. I intercepted the truck, we stopped the driver, we opened back, we jumped in, and Maharaj, I stole a copy. I'm a thief. But if I ever stole something in my life, this is the most valuable thing. And I'm already on page 575. So I'm a little bit ahead of all of you. So I'm currently doing research on the lives of many of our previous acharyas, beginning with the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. And unfortunately, in many cases, there's very little information about these personalities who are so dear to us and have done so much in their own ways to establish and struggle and push forward this movement. Not so much information, at least not as much as we would hope for. And the other day I was studying Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. It's especially true with him. There's hardly anything mentioned about him. For example, in Chaitanya Bhagavat or Chaitanya Mangalam, there's a little bit in CC, just to kind of whet your appetite. Only in Bhakti Ratnakara do we find a sufficient amount of information. So it's a little frustrating because, you know, we really want to hear who these personalities were and what they did so that we can imbibe their spirit and push on in modern times. So nowadays, for me, it's always very wonderful that a number of Srila Prabhupada's disciples have written extensively about his divine grace, life, and his teachings. So many disciples are coming out with books. For me, these books are so important, and for future generations as well. It's important to the preservation of our movement. It's important for the future success of our movement that Srila Prabhupada and our previous acharyas, well, because they're the real leaders of society, and they're the real heroes in society. So in compiling and writing, I'll build you a temple, the Juhu story, His Holiness Giriraj Swami has done a great service to the devotees in this movement, to the people of Bombay, of Mumbai. And I would go so far as to say, for mankind, for that matter. Why mankind? Because I'm convinced that the achievements of Srila Prabhupada will one day be not only noted, but studied by great historians. They have yet to recognize that, but I'm very sure that in the future, scholars, historians, they'll study Srila Prabhupada and the great contributions that he made to this world. Srila Prabhupada himself said one time to Guru Das in London, one day scholars will note how this movement saved the world in its darkest hour. That may be very soon if you're reading the news. And surely they will appreciate this book. They'll appreciate how our Giriraj Maharaj, as so many others have said, meticulously researched and spent so many hours and weeks, days and months and years to compile a book of 700 pages or more. And I'm reading it, and I can tell you It's a fantastic story from every angle. The way it was and the way he's presenting it. Everything is there. There's love, there's intrigue, there's pitched battles, there's suspense, there's a wonderful ending. It's the perfect novel, it's the perfect movie. It's simply the perfect activities of a pure devotee on this planet to glorify his beloved Lord. And now we have it in writing. And most importantly, I was thinking the central characters of this presentation are all transcendental to this world. Srila Prabhupada and Radha and Krishna. It's a very unique book. And as it's been said and indicated by others, His Holiness Giriraj Swami was the right person to chronicle these pastimes. He was the perfect person. There couldn't have been another. And that's why Prabhupada asked him to write it. He could see. He was the perfect person because, as noted by my dear godbrother Radhanath Swami, who spoke so nicely, as always, Giriraj Maharaj was there. He was on the scene. Number two, he's a Shrutidhara. What's a Shrutidhara? It means somebody who can remember like everything that happened in the past. And he's like that. He has a fantastic memory. And he's one of my favorite speakers. So I often listen to his classes, his lectures. And it just amazes me that very often he'll come up with a pastime that he's never told before about Srila Prabhupada. He'll be speaking and then you'll just hear, and he'll say, oh yes, and this happened in Mumbai. We went to visit this life member and we never heard it before. So he's like a spring, like an eternal spring of water gushing out of the ground and satisfying the thirst of all the devotees for Krishna Katha, and especially Prabhupada Katha. Prabhupada said one time, if you want to know me, read my books. I can add, if you want to know Prabhupada, listen to Giriraj Swami's lectures. You'll hear so much. Not only that, but the lectures are imbued with so much love and devotion for Prabhupada. And as mentioned, he's an excellent writer, as acknowledged by His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, whose words on the back cover, here's the back cover, they're very prophetic. He says about Giriraj Maharaj's writing, he writes, I'll build you a temple. He said, this book is riveting, thoughtful, and inspiring. That's a good way to describe this book. It's riveting. I'm reading it, and I'm also reading it. First thing I get up in the morning, I start reading the book. That's my first sadhana. It's riveting, it's thoughtful, and it's inspiring. And last but not least, Giriraj Swami was blessed by Srila Prabhupada. And he was blessed by Srila Prabhupada for his seva in Mumbai. So therefore he's qualified to write. Prabhupada went so far as to say, Bombay means Giriraj and Giriraj means Bombay.
Haribo!
I don't think in humility that Maharaj will repeat that very often, but we thank the Lord that he did say that. He did write that in the last pages, because I skipped ahead. Sometimes you read a book and you skip to the end to see what happens. I couldn't wait. So that's one of the last things that Maharaj shares with us. Prabhupada said, Bombay means Giriraj, Giriraj means Bombay. So how dear Maharaj is to Srila Prabhupada, and therefore he was personally chosen by Prabhupada to write this book because he knew this book would come forth loud and clear. And I hope that, that statement, Bombay means Giriraj and Giriraj means Bombay, I hope one day the authorities in that great city will give Giriraj Maharaj the keys to the city. It's an expression we have in the West that when you've done something significant for the city, then the mayor gives you the keys. It's symbolic, the keys to the city. So they should, when this book should be distributed all over the city, and then the mayor should come and have a ceremony and give the keys to the city of Maharashtra. So today is the celebration of the 43rd anniversary of the installation of our beloved Shri Shri Radharasa Bihari, who themselves were so much loved by Srila Prabhupada. The other day I was reading, one time Prabhupada prayed to Rukmini Dwarkadish in Los Angeles to please be engaged in the service of Shri Shri Radharasa Bihari in Bombay. And that prayer was granted. But in fulfilling that desire, we know Prabhupada had to struggle so much, but the result of his struggles, as so perfectly shared in I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu story, the result was the magnificent temple that you could say continues to be a beacon of light for all of those in this dark age of Kali who want to know something about Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. A beacon of light, and it will continue to shine on because Prabhupada understood the importance of books. He said one time, even if all the our temples fall into the ocean, he said, if my books are out there, our mission will continue. So this is a brilliant contribution, and it will be around for as long as Srila Prabhupada's books are here as well. Because it's perfect glorification of Radharasa Bihari and Srila Prabhupada. I'd just like to take a second to also thank the many devotees who have served in Radharasi Bihari's temple over many years. Some are no longer with us, like His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. He was part of those pioneering days, and he did so much. And he's no longer with us, but we thank him. There's a little shrine to him I've seen in the temple. Thank you for doing that, the devotees. There's so many devotees. The list goes on and on. So you've maintained such a wonderful standard for the deities. This is something significant. I think it's the standard that should be followed by all of our temples in ISKCON. Just like Prabhupada said one time, if you want to know deity worship, he said in the early days, you go to the Radharaman temple in Vrindavan and study their program. So if I could say something, a little something, I would say in ISKCON, if someone wants to know what is puja, go to Radharasa Bihari temple and study the puja there. It is simply, it melts the heart. I'm always inspired to go there to see the puja. So thank you for, Prabhupada's desire, the temple was manifest, but one thing is to create, another thing is to sustain and to maintain. That takes a lot of spiritual strength, a lot of intelligence, a lot of hard work. So thank you for that. And thank you for preaching so wonderfully all over your area, your zone. Every time I look at the results of book distributions, I'm floored with the number of books that go out there. And once again, a thank you to my eternal friend. I'm going to say eternal. I hope Krishna's in my heart listening. My eternal friend and my mentor and advisor, Giriraj Maharaj, for inviting me to this program. And I'm sorry I stole your book, Maharaj. I hope that you won't be angry with me. And I hope that when I see you next time, I'll get a big signature on this blank page. So I've only got this much of the book left, little part here. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm addicted to this book. And I'm going to go on and try to finish it today on this very auspicious day where we're launching the book in Mumbai at our beautiful temple there at the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radharasa Bihari. Thank you very much, Prabhus. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your services, all glories to I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu story. Hare Krishna.
Hi. That was so amazing. Really inspiring. I mean, you not only stole my book, but you stole my heart. Thank you. And I appreciate your appreciation of the devotees who are serving in Juhu and maintaining the standards and legacy that Srila Prabhupada left us there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj, for your inspirational speech. And now the much awaited moment has arrived of dedicating the book to Srila Prabhupada, Sri Radha Ras Bihari Ji, Sri Sitaram Lakshmanaman, and Srila Gaur Nitai, and releasing the book. I request all the devotees in the temple, please listen carefully. You all have to come backside. So we will be offering the book. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and senior devotees will offer first to Srila Prabhupada. We want to capture that in our cameras because there are so many devotees around the world. They are watching it on the Zoom and Facebook and YouTube. They have to see it. Especially the author of the book has to see also, isn't it? So, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj, they have taken their time to see this launch. I request all the devotees, please come backside. Please come. All the no. When I say you have to, ladies, please on the backside. We want complete this space to be available for senior devotees to offer the book to Prabhupada first. Then we will go to the Radha Rasbihari altar. So we don't want anybody near there. Only cameraman. Please, two cameras, both of you will be active. You have to capture completely, right? So that is our program. So with that, so we will be, please, now you can please come backside. Camera, second camera, please come here. So we will be now offering the book in the lotus hands of Srila Prabhupada, and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj is there. Please bring. Devakandan Prabhu, Surdas Prabhu, Brajari Prabhu, Gaurang Prabhu, please come. Devotees can move this side also. There is a TV also outside. You can see from the TV also. But in any case, you'll have to leave space for the cameras to come. If you want to sit down and watch there, that is fine also. Sit down, but then leave space. Camera, Dudamur Prabhu, please bring. So please. So let the camera, okay. Very good. So you can show the full screen. The operator, Zoom operator, show the full screen. Here we are offering to Srila Prabhupada. I will build you a temple. This promise of Srila Prabhupada is realizing today in the form of a book written by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. The Juhu story unveils. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Devakandan Prabhu, please offer to Prabhupada. Please, Maharaj can come and open the book. Capture. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Radha Ras Bihari Ji ki. नहीं, इसको इधर ही रहेगा. So now we will be, please leave space. We will be going to Sri Radha Ras Bihari Ji. So we will be offering to Sri Radha Ras Bihari Ji. Please come, Maharaj. Dudamrit. Shri Radha Ras Bihari Ji ki, Giriraj Govardhan ki, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki. Okay, Maharaj, please, Pujar, you can take this book and keep it at the lotus feet of Shri Radha Ras Bihari Ji. Hmm. Please keep it on the lotus feet and open the book, Radha Ras Bihari. Okay. Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari Ji ki, Giriraj Govardhan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki. Keep it there only. So we will be now offering the book to Sri Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanumanji. Please, please move. Go, Nitai. Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Nrsingadev Bhagwan ki. जय जय श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की, नृसिंहदेव भगवान की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, श्रील गिरिराज स्वामी महाराज की. Thank you. We will now offer the book to Shri Gaurnitai, Srila Prabhupada. Please leave space for the cameras to move. And now we are offering the book to Sri Sri Gaurnitai Ji, His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada. Sri Sri Gaurnitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki. So, yeah. So please, all the devotees can sit down. We have one more small inauguration. Please sit down. Please take your seat. So we thank all the devotees for joining here for this book launch. And especially we thank His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj to be with us. And also we thank His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And also we thank His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj to have joined us here. And now the book is officially released. Now anybody can read officially, even though somebody has done officially. Thank you very much. And we have event. This is 125th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada. And Corona has taught us a lesson how we can expand our preaching digitally, online preaching. In fact, it is by Corona's mercy that we are having this launch book release program online with participation from all the exalted Vaishnavas here. So utility is the principle Srila Prabhupada taught us, and BBT, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, has come up with a digital version of BTG. Digital version of BTG, the BBT has come up. So this digital version of BTG, Back to Godhead magazine, can be ordered online. And now His Holiness Gopalakrishna Goswami Maharaj, who is the BBT trustee, he will be launching that online version of digital BTG. And if to subscribe to this BTG, you can go to iskonmumbai.com/BTG. iskonmumbai.com/BTG. Also, We would like to tell you the book that is released, the Juhu story, I Will Build You the Temple, can be ordered online on the site thejuhustory.com. Thejuhustory.com, one can online. Now His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj will be launching the digital BTG by clicking on the touchpad here. So Maharaj is now clicking, and it is click Maharaj. Then Jai online BTG key, digital BTG key. Please, you can now physical copy. You don't have to wait for. You can go online and order the online. To order, please go to iskonmumbai.com/BTG. You can make the order. It is available in different languages. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj wants to say a few words on the digital BTG.
I just want to say that you can get this on digital plus the print. The print will continue to be printed also.
Yes, the print edition will be there also. This is an additional, it's an incentive. If you are not able to get it on time, you have digital version also. The print version continues, the digital version is launched, and one can order for digital version also and print version also. So we thank all the devotees who have joined us today in Radha Rasbihari Temple, as well as we thank all the devotees around the world who have joined us on the Zoom or Facebook or YouTube and different channels we have. And we thank especially His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Indradumna Swami Maharaj, and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj who have participated in this program. Thank you one and all. We will end today morning's program. The evening program is as follows. 4:15 a.m. there will be Dwajarohan. The flag will be hoisted on the temple of Radha Rasbihari Ji. Auspicious day, inauguration day. New flag will be put, victory flag. Haribo. And 6 p.m. there will be Maha Abhishek of all the deities. Today being the inauguration day of the temple, we will have Shri Radha Rasbihari Ji, Lalita Ji, Vishaka Ji, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ji, Shri Gaurnitai, Srila Prabhupada, and Giriraj Govardhan. All the deity Abhishek will be there from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And 7 o'clock there will be a program in the courtyard in which minister for. So in the temple hall right here, the program will be there in which we will be playing a video message of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, which I have not got yet. So Maharaj will send a video message. So he'll play that video message. And then the Minister for Transport and Parliamentary Affairs of State of Maharashtra, Mr. Anil Parabji. Anil Parabji, he will be with us for the Abhishek. As well, he is from Shiv Sena, by the way. And Bal Thackerayji had a very important role in saving our temple. So we are indebted to him for his wonderful service. So minister from his party is coming. So he will be making a short speech, and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj also will make a speech. And after that, we will be having prasadam served for all the devotees in the Mandapam hall. The entry from Govinda restaurant side, not from the other side. Entry from Govinda restaurant side, prasadam will be served at 8:30 p.m. So with that, today we will be concluding the program, and we thank one and all. Now the prasadam will be served in the Mandapam hall. So all devotees who have participated, your prasadam will be served in Mandapam hall. Entry from Govinda restaurant side. Thank you very much for participating. We conclude today's morning program by chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Rasbihari Ji ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj ki, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj ki, His Holiness Indradumna Swami Maharaj ki, Jai Gaura Premanande.
Gaura Premanande, Hare Hare Om.
Book. Hey, no, the. The book is available in the temple also. There is a book table. Those devotees who want to take a copy, please go to the book table. It is available. And senior devotees will get the book also. We will give it to you. Yes. Thank you very much. We will be closing the Zoom. Hare Krishna.
Congratulations, Giriraj. That was fantastic.
We're still on.